The topic of today's lesson was going to be triads. Now, you might think to yourself, right, okay then, Ricky, so what are triads? And triads are super, super important. And what I try to do with my lessons is I try not to over-label stuff. I like it to be, it is what it is. And then once we get into the system of naming things in a kind of more advanced manner, then you find out that you already know it, but you know it as a simple name. And I think that's the thing. So when I talk about triads, I talk about 5R3. Now, if you know the 5R3 thing, then you might not actually realize how important 5R3 actually is. 5R3 concept that we've looked at before in the book. And let me just hang on. Let me use the book. Let's use the book, because this all ties into everything. Now, and part of my philosophy with learning guitar is, I like this concept of, you know, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for the day. But if I show you how to fish, then you'll be able to feed yourself for the rest of your life. And that's the thing. If I've got students in the past who've learned as much as they needed to know to get done what they needed to do, if that makes sense. To play songs and the simple things, and that's, you know, that's the thing with me. It's like, if I give them them frameworks, give you that framework, then I've done my job. Now, one of the things is this one, page 31 in the book, lesson 25. It talks about the 3 minor chord shapes. This is essentially 3 of the cage chord shapes distilled from triads. This is what this is. Now, the triad idea is that what we have is we've got 3 notes, and that's what it means. Triangle, tripod, triceratops, whatever you want to think. That means 3 essentially. So what we do is we get these 3 notes, which is why the circle of thirds is so important, guys. Yeah, so we got these 3 notes, and we go, right, okay, so we've got a 5R3. That's the 5th, the root, and the 3rd. Let's rearrange them and put them how we would do if we were stacking them as a triad. And this is where the C and the G shape come in. And you might have wondered with the 5R3 thing, you know, why on this sheet here, on this page, on this lesson, there's only the E, A, and D chords referenced. There's no C shape and there's no G shape from the cage system. Well, that's because these contain 5R3s. So if you put your fingers on an E chord, I'm banging on there. If you put your fingers on the E chord, the 3 fingers that you have on are the 5th, the root, and the 3rd. If we play an A chord, we get the 5th, the root, and the 3rd. If we play a D chord, we get the 5th, the root, and the 3rd. So you get that recurring pattern. That pattern is always the same. It's always going to be the same. So we get that 5R3. However, the C chord, if you look at the C chord, what this does is it outlines the triad from the root up. We go root, 3rd, then the open G string is the 5th. So you see we get the root, 3rd, 5th. Da, da, da. And it's almost like a barbershop quartet, how they stack the notes. You remember those from the 70s? Yeah? Yes, so I remember those. Right, so barbershop quartet. So you can hear the chords stacking up. Whereas when you do it 5R3, it's a little bit different. That was Anglia TV. It was always on when Danger Mouse was on when I was a kid. If you don't know what Danger Mouse is, look it up. It's a classic cartoon from the 80s. So what we've got is we've got this 5R3 thing. So there is more reason to understand this 5R3 thing, and we can look at it as being root, 3rd, 5th, but I think because the E, A, and the D shape have so much in common with the 5R3 and using these to understand the triads, then it makes sense to just call it 5R3. And this is the way to kind of look at it with those triads. Now, I know triads, it's like I start saying this and it's like one of those things and you think to yourself, all right, okay, it sounds complicated, sounds advanced, but it truly isn't. And the beautiful thing is that it will help you with your soloing, it'll help you with your lead guitar, and also what I really like about it is it means that you can avoid playing bars if you struggle with bars, but you can still play music. Because remember, guys, I always go on about this, It's always, always, always about playing music. So if I play something like this pattern here, I'm playing just 3 strings. And if you think about it, 3 strings, triad, there's going to be something in common there. There's a relationship. So if we go there, I'm playing 3 notes. I'm just playing the A, D, and the G string here, and I'm borrowing this from the triad shapes. And what we do is we get these things called string sets. And I talk about string pairs, which is one concept, but I also like to talk about string sets. So if I think about a group of 3 strings, that would be a string set. So I can play these string sets. I can play them all over the shop. And, you know, there are other triad exercises that I have already put out there, and that's like, maybe you know the lesson on the D shape, moving the D shape up the neck. So there's a D shape, and what I can do is I can take that D shape, and remember I'm playing 3 notes here, yeah, so I've got the 5R3, right, move up here, I move up into the minor chord. This is chord 3, chord 4, chord 5, chord 6, chord 7, back to chord 1 again. So the thing is, I'm only playing 3 notes, and what I'm doing here is I'm just teaching you triads, but I'm not calling them triads, because as soon as people start thinking triads, it's like, oh, hang on, this sounds difficult and something that I can't cope with, and you know, therefore you'll shut down and you won't even try to learn it, which is such it makes me really sad to think that people don't want to learn triads. So here we go. So back to this idea that everything that I talk about that relates to 5R3 generally relates to triads. It also relates to the cage system. But what I really, really need to do is I need to pull up a PDF now. Hopefully, let me make sure I can change this on my screen properly. Let's have a look. Oh, let's do this one here. And now what I've got is I've turned this one on here, transition this here, go back to Facebook. There we go. Right. It's beautiful. What I want you to do is I want you to see and understand this, that there are 3 major triad inversion shapes. Can you play the D shape up the neck like major, minor, minor, major, major, minor? Yes, you can, Ricardo. That is critical. That's what I call the east to west principle. You think about north, south. The guitar fretboard has a compass. North, south, east, west. There's lots of different ways you can go. There's lots of ways you can move, and they all open up interesting patterns and those sort of things. Now, what this pattern that you can see on the screen here, you can see it says caged there, although it does look aged. so it is caged, but hopefully you'll see that the caged acronym means C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape, and D shape. So you see it goes A, G, E, D, and then we get back into the C shape there. Now, if you look at that A shape, the first one, I don't know if my mouse will point there. No, it isn't. But well, my finger will point there. So you see this A shape here. This one, that's the A shape that you might know already. That's and I call that a 5R3. And you can see the 5R3, how it lives there. And what we've got, and then just look at this and see it straight away if you possibly can. Yeah. If there were more strings, if this was a 7-string guitar, if this was a 10-string guitar or whatever, yeah, we would always be following this same pattern of 5R3. You could call it R3-5. It will repeat that way as well. But what that makes you understand is that there are root position triads. There are first inversion. If this is all too much, basically means first inversion means instead of going from the root, we go from the third. So you can see on, let me point at this one here. So you can see here, if I go to that 6th fret there, you can see it goes 3, 5, R. So 3, 5, R. That means it's starting on the third. So we're just using the G, the B, and the E strings there. If we use that, then I'll play that on the guitar and show you what it means. That would be a first inversion. But the thing of it is, it's still just all A. This whole thing that you're seeing here is a different way to play A. So what we've got is we've got 3 master patterns. There's 3 master shapes. So you can see the first one, it intersects. Now, the way I think of intersects is if you know Venn diagrams, yes, if you draw a circle and then you draw an overlapping circle, there's a bit where they overlap, and that's called the intersect. And the same thing happens with your caged guitar chord shapes. So if I play an A there, yeah, but I play an A using an awkward G shape here, you can see that that A is covered. It's still underneath my bar. You can see I'm holding it down, the 5th, the root and the 3rd there with that finger, and then kind of using it like a capo, yeah? So if I put a capo on here, look, I'm only putting the capo on there so that I can hold down the A shape, and then if I put the G chord on there, because the root note is here on the A string, on the A note on the 6th string here, that note is an A, kind of, but that is a G shape, but it is sounding an A chord. So if I take this, you hear that chord, I'll play it here. I'll take that off there, and put this on here. It's the same chord. Timbre is different because the strings are a bit different, but it's the same chord. So what you can see is we get, that's the first shape that we get there. And what it's doing is it's intersecting the G shape and the A shape, because they are buddy up next to each other. So if you think about it, A shape, C, A, G, E, D, A, G, next is going to be E, next is going to be D. Right? Does this make sense? Let's see. We get the C shape there. So this ties in with this pattern here. And you can see that it jumps across. But what we're looking at with this is retaining the 5R3 understanding of seeing where those 3 main shapes are, the E shape, the A shape and the D shape. But now that you realise that 5R3 and root 3rd 5th and 3rd 5th root, yes, those are just part of one great unified triads pattern. So this is for everything. I mean, this is for every triad, every major triad that you can think of. Now, you know, all we have to do then is follow this along, and we're thinking about this from the perspective of, say you're soloing. Let's look at it from the perspective. You've got a guitar solo, and there's an A underneath it. And what you want to do is you want safe notes that are going to go with the chord that you're playing. Those are the notes. That's where the notes live. This almost gets into the realms of arpeggios, because what we're doing here is we're not using full scale patterns, we're using the notes of chords, but if you join these together you will get arpeggios, which are essentially broken chords that are broken down into just the root, the 3rd and the 5th if they are a major arpeggio. Hope I'm not going too over your head here, guys. If I am, just mention it in the comments. If you have anything that you want me to delve into with this, go back, rewind it, then tell me in there. I keep on glancing down. Okay, so the idea here is we've got this A. Well, look, if I take that A chord, if you look here, can you see this one at the 4th fret on the A string? We've got a 3 there. Can you see that 3? Well, that's the 3rd of the chord. If we put the 3rd in the bass there, then this would be called a 1st inversion triad. And I'm going to play that A like this. This is the Hendrixy sound. Yeah? Look at that. That's a lovely, easy way to play a chord. If you can hold this down with your first finger here, holding the A shape down there, just arch that 3rd finger and put it there. Now this is a really useful shape now. This is a major chord, but with the 3rd in the bass. Can you hear that when I play that, it sounds rich, it sounds warm, and inverted chords and inverted triads sound warmer. Whereas A major, it's very square, very solid, very flat sort of sound. There you go, kind of, yeah, it's not going anywhere is that, whereas this one, it's got a little bit more character, and it's just because the notes are in a different order. Yeah, that's all it is. So we take this here, and I could use this shape. This is a little tip. This is a little thing, right? Okay, look, you might struggle with this idea. So if I said to you, playing an A bar chord, yeah, in an E shape here. just playing an A to a D like that, you might struggle with it, yeah, because it's a bar chord, but you don't need to. If we play this shape like this, it's the same chord, but we've used a different shape. Remember, this is all based on the G shape here, and I'm just sliding it up. And all I'm doing really is finding out where the A shape is. Look, so there's the A shape. I'll kind of break this down a little bit more. A, B, C, D. That's where the shape's going to live. Put my third finger over. Not playing the thick E string, not playing the thin E string. Yeah. We can put that there as well. You see, so this is really, really useful. And there's a 3-chord trick. So this gets really starts to get interesting. I could change that. The string set that I was looking at there really was the A, the D and the G. I was adding the B in there for a little bit of extra colour just because I mentioned the A shape. But if I take that there, then what I'm doing is I'm getting the third, the fifth and the root. Bless them all, bless them all. That's an old song from the pre-war era. Right, now, here's the thing. Taking this idea of 5R3, one of the things that we need to be able to do with this is to identify where the third is. I know by lowering it one, it turns it into a minor triad. Yeah, so now if you remember from this lesson here, this is exactly what's going on here. This is the concept explained in this lesson. Yes, 5R3. So if we take an E major chord, and then what we do is we go 5R3, the 3 is underneath that index finger. If we take the index finger off, it turns the chord into a minor chord. And you can hear the difference between the major chord and a minor chord is happy and sad. It's the duality of life. It is life. This is what it is. Right, we do the same with the A major chord. Major uplifting sound. There's the third. Turn it into a minor third. We get a minor sound. D major. 5R3. My thin E string's a little bit out of tune there, guys. So lower it 1 fret, turns it into a minor. This is where the D minor shape comes from. This is where the A minor shape comes from. It's from that lowering of that third. So we need to be able to transfer that idea into these here. I'm pointing the wrong way. Right, so okay, let's take these shapes and we'll look at building some of these. The duality of life, it is arts reflecting life, and you know, it's not separate from life because music is the main thing. Imagine life without music. Nietzsche said something like that. Life without music would be a mistake. So what we can do is, just from the example of looking at this. Now, if you look here at this shape here, what I'm doing is I'm looking at that third there, the 4th fret, and then I'm playing this A shape up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just play on the A string, the D string and the G string. And that means I get this. 4th fret on the A string, 2nd fret on the D string, 2nd fret on the G string. So if I take those there, that's a major sound. Now to get the minor sound, remember all I did was flatten that third. Now I get this weird funky shape. If I play it like that, I could play it like that, but I prefer to just hold it down. It's a partial bar. You should be able to do this with just your tip of your index finger and hold down 2 strings. Yeah, double stopping. If you want to think of it as a double stop, then you can do. Can you hear how the quality of that chord's changed? So here's happy, here's sad. Right, so what we can do is we can do the same thing that we did with the D minor chord, the D major up the neck chord thing. Remember this one? Yep. Yeah. See, not got the right glasses on, but there we go. You know where I'm going with this. So here we go. So this one here, this is chord 1. I'm thinking this is A major, right? There's chord 2. Now if I add the other notes in there like I did there, yeah, the bum notes are free. There you can hear, there's the minor. Lovely thing about this is my first finger doesn't have to leave and I'm just sliding and moving it along. So I go. And that becomes something that you can use if you were doing a solo. So like I said. So I've got this here. Oh no, I was playing in A, that's it. There we go. So I'll play something in A. I can borrow those notes. And those little shapes, those little fragments of triads, they help to become the notes that you use to create your melody. Now this is just using one chord, so we need to kind of be able to do this on the fly as well with other shapes. So let's look at this in another way. Let's look at it in another shape. Let's move to another one so you can see that this is always going to go. Look, it goes 5, R3, 5. If I had another two strings, R3, it would be getting higher and higher. So it's always going 5, R3. These three shapes. You have to memorize these. Just memorize them. Just find them. Select a chord. Go through it. Find it. Find where the major triads live for that. And remember, this is just movable. This is all you have to do. I'll show you exactly what I mean. 5, R3 for the A chord there. Does this make sense? So we've got that there. 5, R3. That E string's just annoying me just a little bit. Right, there we go. So 5, R3 is there. So that's an A major chord. If I move it up here, say I'm playing in the key of B and I want it to move, then the whole thing moves. Yeah, so you can hear. So I can get some really cool things here, and you can hear that with this, I'm not playing massive, hard to handle chords. Stumpy fingers here, it needs to rely on these kind of things here. So you can hear how that works there, guys. Right. Another thing that we could do, so all you do is you just move that A shape up to the key that you want it to be in, just using this little shape here. But obviously, if we look at these string sets, then what we've got a lot more that we could actually do. So let's look at, say, looking at it from the perspective of this G shape here. There's my root, there's my third, there's my fifth. Now what I can do is I can move this up, and then what I've done there is I got root, third, flat third, fifth. And you can see that would be chord 2. Moves up, move that shape up. You see I've reverted back to being a major third there, move it up again. It's not the easiest of shapes is this one, but it's got a more of a diagonal deal going on with it. And because it's in the bass, it's a little bit kind of fuzzy and a bit kind of like woolly is the sound, you know, so we can use that as well. So just taking this going across, you know, you can see, oh sorry, on the A, there's the A. Look at this, root, 3, 5. I've done a lesson with this shape as well, guys, just using this part of this A shaped triad here. Look, so I can take that there. There's A. This is going to be the B minor. This is going to be C sharp minor. C sharp minor. And then what we get D, E, F sharp minor. Yes, I'm not going to do the diminished because we're staying on these major and minor triads. Yes, and then so we can get those there. And those shapes they all end up. Oh, wrong note. So we can add those up and join them all together, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Looking on to the next shape. So that's the first of those three shapes in that master, major, triad inversion shapes. It's a mouthful, but if we just think of it as the 5R3 master patterns, if you want to think of it in that way. Look at this one up here. This is in A, and I play this E shape here. So you start to see, like, you know, it looks like an E shape, doesn't it? I say an E shape, but if we think about it, E shape there's an E shape. But if we move it down, it still looks like an E shape, but it's on the wrong strings, and it becomes an A minor. Yeah? It's the finger shape that is the same. The chord name changes, the strings that you're doing it on changes. If I move this over here, I get a lovely augmented chord, which is not a nice sound, but if you're writing the theme tune for a James Bond movie, then you're going to use that a lot, right? Okay? So we can move it over here as well. So it makes use of this idea. If I take this one here, I'm actually in C major here. Now I get these interesting chords. So it becomes really useful just to learn these three here. Now, obviously, the main ones that you can actually see within these three are the 5R3 from the A, which is the pattern that's here, this pattern here. You can see the 5R3 in the middle for the A shape. If I move up here, let me go, and it's this hand here, Ricky. So this one here, this is going to be the E shape, 5R3. And then I move over here onto the, oh, let's move this down here so you can see here. Now we get to the D shape, which is down here. And they're all completely in different registers. So, but they're the same chord. It's all just A. I do have this other thing that I do want to show you. So what we do is that we always think about it as being the major triad as being the master, if you will. I think of the cage chords as being the master shapes. The minors are the first sort of mutation or kind of distortion of what they are. Let me just switch this over on the thing here. Now hopefully that will have changed. I think that has changed. Yes, now we've got the minor triad inversion. So really these are just modified from that major pattern. All we've done is we've taken the 5R3 and we've turned it into a minor. And hopefully just referencing those 5R3s in the E, A and D shapes again. Here's the A shape down here, the minor version. We got 5R flat 3. Okay, that's really cool. Let's move it up here into the E-shaped version, which I pointed out here. Wrong hand, Ricky, again. It's this one, because I got the camera flipped. So we've got this one here. This, you can see here at the 7th fret here that we've got 5R. And then if we go to the 5th fret, we get 5R flat 3 just there. So we play that there. This is just signposting where the notes live that you need to know for making explicit note choices. Someone's playing an A minor chord down here, right? And you want to come in and with your solo. And I always say, don't go for the root notes first as your first note. Go for an emotion note. So go for the flat 3rd, or go for a 7th, or another colour note. So see, on the top of that A minor that is there. Now, without understanding this triad thing, then I'm kind of hunting around. I might be using the chord shapes, but what this does is it tells you flat 3rd, 5th root, flat 3rd, root, yeah? This is the secret to arpeggios. So I just played you there. That was just all essentially an A minor arpeggio. But what we can do, yeah, like I say, is we can play in lots of different areas. I love this one. Let me just show you this one here. This is not really played that much. Can you see this flat 3rd here at the 10th fret? Only it's parallel to the root on this same fret, and the 5th is just here. I'm only going to play on the D, the G, and the B strings here. And I get this little, it looks like an A major 7 shape or a D7 shape. There. I've got the flat 3rd here on the D string, I've got the 5th on my G string, and then the root on the B string here. Now this is an A minor chord. I've got an open A string. I can include that because it's another root. So listen to this. You might not have thought of this way of playing an A minor chord before. So if I play that A minor chord there, play it down here. I've got lots of different ways to play A minor now. I can just, you know, borrowing from this one here, just looking on the G, the B and the E string there, just all those that are in a little row there. Look, look. If you want to get your reggae on or your ska or what, get funky with it or anything else like that, this is a shape you're going to use. And there's another secret to this one as well that is really, really important, which is for another lesson, but we'll get into it in another lesson. But I do particularly like this one. I could use this little point here see, I'm just using that little fragment there as somewhere to get my bearings, and I just think to myself, okay, so this is where I'm going to be playing around. And then do you know what, I'll nominate another bit. I'll nominate this bit, this 5R flat 3 here, and then what I'll do is I'll nominate this flat 3, 5R 3 here as well. And the idea I'm going to do is, because I know there's an A minor chord underneath, is just meander my way through these. I'm playing an A minor pentatonic as well with this as well, guys. So now when I land on that one, I know it's the flat 3rd. Yeah. So we're going to just add all these different notes in here. If it's on there, I can use it. So there's these two grids. There's these two, not grids. They're not two grids. They are the master shapes, if you want to think about it in this way. Now, what's worth coming back to is delving into these a little bit more. I'm just trying to give you this overview, and I will be posting the PDFs for these in the file section as well for you. So don't worry about trying to remember all of it. Like I say, it's like I will post it in the file section. But the thing of it is then this becomes a launch pad for finding other notes. If you've seen the chord connection lesson, you know I use the 5R3 to find other intervals. Yeah, so hopefully you start to see where these things come from. And taking that A minor, that's weird thinking that as you've never seen it in a chord book, really, you know, that note, that note, that note as being an A minor. You know, you might see that. We're gonna put it here. Yeah, so this all links up. Hopefully that makes sense. We've tackled quite a bit in here. I just want you to take this as not the definitive lesson. This is a kind of a bird's eye view, an overhead look at these. But the thing to take away from it is the major triads. There are only 3 shapes, and you need to learn those 3 shapes. And they are movable, transposable. So like I said, this one here is A minor. Let me just switch it back to the major. Here, the major triad inversion one here. There we go. And get rid of that there. Is that there? Oh, hang on. Technology. Right, so technology. There we go. So we've got back on the major one. So if I want to play the A chord here, like this, I can play it like this. That's an A. If I play it there, first inversion. I could play it like this, just using my E shape. Now, this might be counterintuitive to what everybody says is, you know, I'm playing the A chord there. If you're thinking about it in terms of piano, when you play an A chord, you only generally use 3 fingers. The other hand is used for making a bass line with. So you play a chord or triad with 3 fingers. We tend to think on guitar that it has to involve as many strings as possible, but it doesn't. Yeah, we can use the same principles as piano and just play 3 strings, a string set. Find one that's comfortable, that works for you, yeah? So I'll move this up. This is on the D, the G, and the B. There may even be a lesson on with some of these groupings in the book. Actually, I think there is. So we've got this here, but it depends what sound it is that you want. There's the A. And all I'm doing is I'm just joining those up there. That's just playing all those shapes. Just using those as my North Star to help me find where I am. Hopefully that makes sense there, guys. I think that's probably enough of that theory stuff. It's nice to see you in there in the comments. Any questions about this? Because like I say, I don't want to scare you off from this idea of triads. Just think of it as 5/3, like I say, and it's a recurring pattern across that just goes across the strings like that. You learn those patterns like you do your other shapes, and you should be able to use that in your chord playing, in your in your solos, in every aspect, you know. So, and this is one of the secrets, because what you'll find is when people talk about triads, it's like, all right, well, it's this pattern, this pattern, this pattern, this pattern. And the thing is, you end up with something like, I think it's 36 patterns. But really, all you need to do is know the 3 major shapes there, and just work on them and play them across different strings, across different shapes and different chords. You know, this is what it is, you know. So triads are really cool. Yeah, yes, Wayne, triads are amazing. I mean, this is just the kind of start of understanding them, but I kind of think of this as being the genesis of where they come from, you know. So if you can see this, the whole DNA of the genesis of these triads, then it makes a lot more sense. But you can also get the idea of how it ties into the cage system, because it does. And what's beautiful about that is it connects one layer of understanding to another layer of understanding, because this is what we have to do with music. This is why we have the music theory aspect, as well as the practical element of playing stuff. Is we need to add these different layers. And if you think about it, the sum of your knowledge is like a beautiful skyscraper that you're building, you know, like one of those big ones in Dubai or something. And, you know, it's like there's a restaurant on floor 7, there's a swimming pool on floor 12. And the thing is, you want to be able to use the whole facility of the skyscraper, and in order to do that, you need to be able to travel between the layers. And this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the connections between concepts like. So what this does is this bridges this idea that triads and the cage system are actually linked. But also, I want to introduce you, like I say, I'm drumming it in here now. Yeah, I'm really pitching it hard that 5/3 is the key to a lot of it. And that's all you need to remember is 5/3. Where am I in the 5/3? And if you know that 5/3 is an inversion, well, you know there's going to be 3 inversions. There's the root position, there's the first inversion, and the second inversion. If you don't know that, then which page is that on in the book? I go on about this in the book. So like I said, I'm going to blow my own trumpet a little bit. I'm really proud of the book, because it's not so. And somebody put did an Amazon review, and that it isn't just a normal standard. It's A to B to Z sort of lesson book. What I'm trying to do is get concepts into your head and under your fingers that are really important, that all can interconnect, because everything on the guitar is connected. Yeah, you need to understand that everything on the guitar is absolutely connected. And once you start to see those connections, and you can go from the restaurant to the swimming pool, not after you've eaten, because that's actually a bad idea, but once you can move through all these different flaws of the understanding that you need to achieve the goals that are yours, because everybody's goals in the group are going to be completely different to each other. Some, like, people might want to just play a song or two, you know, strumming on acoustic. Some people might want to, you know, shred or whatever. But the thing is, once you understand the frameworks, the genre does not matter. There is just one phrase, there's just one understanding of guitar. It's kind of like, and I have this idea, a grand unified theory of guitar. And this is part of that understanding. So 5R3, the triad shapes, how they all tie into other things. I've got some really cool stuff coming for you. You see, look, I'm trying to get it in there. I'm trying to shoehorn it in as much as I can. Why do you think I talk about suspended chords? Yeah? Why is understanding suspended chords important? Because the suspended chords, they are satellite notes around the third, the 3 of the 5R3. If you know where the 3 is, you can find where the sus2 and the sus4s are. Does this make sense? This is what the whole book is about. Everything is all about connecting it. Even this is just 5R3 and we add a 7th to it. Yeah, so this is what I want to get into with all of this, guys. And you'll notice in my book, I've got scribbles in it, pencils. Yes, draw in your books. That's really, really important. There is the one that I wanted to show you, which was, let's have a look. Changing from the C to the F chord, bar chords are easy. And I should have found the page before I started, but I'm a numpty at times, and I'm just excited to get into the lesson. D chords up the neck. This is all about 5R3. This is another exploration of it. Yeah, so you understand where the 5R3 thing goes, then that's amazing. Let's have a look. Where are you? I think it's somewhere here. This is blues, and we're into the blues section because that's what I tried to do. I tried to keep things in a similar sort of arena, and this is the forgotten soloing method. This is part of it too. I've got another exciting lesson coming up for you actually about this one, yeah, and those suspensions, because I've got another pentatonic for you, a really odd pentatonic that people don't really talk about. Right, excellent. So it's this lesson here. What we've got is effortless melody, and this is page 65, lesson 59 of the book. And this is the 1-4-5 chords, and this is your 3-chord trick, you know. So this is taking that triads idea, and you can see you'll be able to correlate that information over and put it in here. So this just gives you an understanding of how that works in just one use case. So this is just one use case, and the book is just full of use cases of connecting these ideas, because like I say, the guitar, it follows this. It's a beautiful, elegant system, you know, and that's why I do so many things where the chords go up the neck. The cage system is not just about those chords. It's about so much more than that. People often underestimate the cage system and how useful it is. And the guy that's, like I say, that's it's attributed to is Joe Pass, and he was a geezer on guitar. So, okay, I think I've probably exalted the use case of triads enough for this lesson.